Around the outside, this is mind-blowing! Is it possible? No, it's not! Contact! It is both of them crashing!
Emilio Castro-Neves comes to the start-finish line. Quint checkers out, and then there were four. Emilio Castro-Neves joins the four-time winners club.
Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the More Than Made podcast. My name is Jake Langdon.
And I'm Alan Langdon.
And we are in Alan's messy apartment. You can't see it on camera, but he has just moved in to a little duplex here on 16th Street, just on the wrong side of the city. And
I wouldn't say that far. It's a nice neighborhood. But yeah, it was the same day as the GP, which we'll be getting into here shortly.
I'm saying wrong side of the city in reference to the track, Alan.
That's the east side of town.
Anyway, so yeah, we're going to hop in. Great to be in person back for the month of May, of course. First off, of course, the Indy GP, the best Indy GP, I think, ever. While IndyCar has been running it, this is 12th or 13th time they've been running it. And on top of that, of course, Indy cars are on track as we speak. So we're going to give you the lowdown on qualifying, going to kind of save the race predictions and all of that for next week. But I've got a fun show for you today. So let's hop right in. First impressions from the Indy GP. I know you were moving in here and then ended up catching the latter half of the race. So dedication by my partner here.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's for as much as I actually saw live, it was a great race. And we were fortunate, again, to be moving through the first half. And then we got there right about the halfway mark. It was pretty funny. My friend Colin and I got there, and the yellow shirt, first response was like, what took you guys so long? Just the most casual guy just chopping it up, because usually it's the women that take longer, but let us right in, and we walked on the track without paying as well, which was nice. But again, halfway through the race, fortunately enough, I was able to see Will Power's pit incident and then also Lundgaard's final pass, so we'll get those shortly. But yeah, I mean, solid crowd. The weather was fantastic. I know that it was supposed to be kind of dodgy at first, but really came out being a nice, cool, clear day. So really all we wanted in a race day.
Yeah, I mean, looking at what qualifying, was there much to say? I mean, I know Pelot was on pole again for like the fourth straight time, and Award had made a big fuss during practice that like, I won't, my car's terrible, all this. And then the big storyline with it all was the rain. So obviously, they have rain tires, they're able to run in the rain. And I think they cut back to a race a few years ago. I didn't know which one it was, but them running in conditions that were very similar to that during the actual race. And people consider that to be one of the better Indy GPs. But yeah, they had a chance to qualify in the rain and everyone was ready, but apparently the rain was too intense to race. So I understand there's a line there. People were upset. Obviously, we haven't had a rain qualifying, I don't know, since we've been covering. I know we've had a few practices, maybe one rain qualifying.
And some races too. I remember,
Detroit.
And the race you mentioned too at the GP was like Herta's crazy save. I think in turn 10, but it was like he was almost 45 degrees. It was odd. I mean, again, you weren't there in person, but from a qualifying standpoint, I agree with you. Pato was a big jump, and then of course, like the RLLs just having the secret sauce on this track every year.
I would say that was not necessarily as impressive performance as they're used to, but on the flip side, their race pace was better. Mm-hmm. You think about the days with Devlin coming in there and going out and finishing, starting in the top 5 and finishing in like 18th, 19th. So they've obviously shook that. I mean, Foster finished one of his best, I believe. What was it? 7th, his career best. He was on pole at Road America last year. Obviously did well here last year, but I think he finished like 11th. So a lot better from him. And then another podium from Grayhall. I mean, wow.
He's had a fantastic year. I mean, I don't know if that boogeyman ever comes off in terms of like the latest win after 100 attempts, but
more than that, yeah.
No, I mean, he's definitely having a bit of a renaissance in his career at a time when there was talks of like retirement and other opportunities from a career standpoint.
Maybe all that money that Mick's getting into the program is helping him more than Mick. I mean,
yeah, Mick's still last in points right now. Just had an abysmal season, both on the bad luck side, but also too just cannot be finding pace. And I really would have thought this would have been his race of any of them. because it is an FIA rated track. I mean, it's Formula One.
And he tested decently here. I'm pretty sure he tested the best among rookies.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, it's only going to get harder next weekend with the 500 because that is a race that he's got zero experience in. You got the short ovals, but the 500 is its own beast. So limited optimism going forward.
Yeah, so qualifying was obviously a little dramatic in that sense, but not that obviously. They just came the next morning, no warm-up. Instead, they just replaced it with that, and Palou obviously was on pole, so it looked like we were heading to what we predicted, which was just another Palou domination fest, but luckily we did not get that. So let's start off, of course, lap 1, the incident we're used to seeing coming through. Unfortunately, Pato got the worst of it. You know, Felix Rosenqvist comes through on the inside. I think he was on like the 3rd row and locked up the brakes. I think he just, you know, that apex, I think he just took an impossible angle and locked up one of the fronts and ran right into Pato, spun him out into the grass. And Pato on a day, I think I predicted him to win, and then you had Lundgaard. So Alan, big winner over there.
I think it's the first time in a long time we had been super successful. We can't choose Palou as a rule. So
yeah, and unfortunately that just knocked him out of contention. But on top of that, Collette and Dixon got caught up. Unfortunate for Collette because obviously, you know, still fighting with the Rookie of the Year and everything. And then, you know, Dixon ended up recovering the day, finishing P6. No surprise there. Obviously, 2023, when Rahal finished runner-up, Dixon won that race in a very, very, very similar scenario, actually coming off of the end of the lap rather than the start of lap 1, where he had to come to the pits, got a wing replacement, and ran a really conservative fuel strategy, or aggressive in that case. And then in the back of lap 1 there on the main straight, VK got caught up and busted his wing. I think he got hit. I think he hit Rasmussen, and then I think that led to Rasmussen having the mechanical failure from his rear later on. I don't know if you saw that, but he kind of spun out. We never really got a great view of it, but it just looked like his rear brakes or something went out and completely fell off the course.
Yeah, I can't say much more. But it was bizarre too. Do you know? Again, the rules have changed so much recently. Like, they can use push to pass on restarts, but not the start of the race. Because I mean, yeah, well, that's honest, like to your point. The turn 1 incident is common as any non-oval in any car, so like that's going to happen. But like, would push to pass have made that even worse? Yeah,
well, the rule, now is, I believe you can use it during any green flag scenario after passing the start finish line, but the alt start finish line is for restarts. So they have it where it's like you can't touch the button even though it's technically active until you reach that alt start finish line. So that kind of complicates things. And I know they've been trying to show it with the graphics. I noticed that. I don't know if you saw, like they're trying to do more of those overlays, which obviously have been very helpful with qualifying and everything. I'm trying to parse through that, but unfortunately we had a lot to talk about today. And I was like, between that and the new charter stuff, I'm like, I guess we're going to have to handle that later. Try on
a slow news week, I guess. I mean, on that, the other big incident to talk about was the Rossi hybrid failure. So we haven't really talked about the hybrid, thankfully, or knock on wood, in a decently long time. But this one just appeared to be one of those kind of weird flukes where the hybrid just stopped working on the main straight, which isn't the best, but probably not the worst place to have your car completely stall out.
Yeah, obviously the most dramatic part of the race besides Lundgaard's eventual pass of Malukas. But yeah, he literally got out of the car during a local yellow with cars on track and right on the start finish line, just on the wrong side of the bricks going the wrong way. And got out, threw his wheel down into the car and hopped over to the pit lane, and obviously very disgruntled, and rightfully so, because of the mix of obviously frustration with the hybrid and then frustration with the stewards. And I think that summarizes IndyCar the last 2 years pretty well, outside of maybe some scheduling issues, which we've improved upon. So let's hear from him, and then Alan, we can hear your analysis.
Alexander Rossi out of the car and safely back to his pit box. First, originally tell me what happened, and then also the decision to get out of your car on the front stretch.
Well, it's pretty annoying to have failures on the car because of a product that we didn't ask for that doesn't improve the racing. So that's frustrating. Second of all, the fact that it took that long to throw a full course yellow when a car's on the front straight and people are going by at 170 miles an hour also seems insane when they don't let us drive in the wet yesterday. So I don't really know where the priorities lie, so pretty frustrated.
Yeah, that was pointed, to say the least. I think for context, too, what he's referring to is obviously the hybrid was more of a corporate decision. I believe Honda / Acura really wanted to get into the environmental game a little bit, and that's where the hybrid team took a good green initiative, similar to the green wall tires and street courses that use a kind of a rubber plant that's more organic than regular tire compound, and of course you shelter.
Yeah, they ditched that though. Whatever it was, some sort of cactus. Yeah.
And then they have obviously the Shell renewable fuel. So there's a couple initiatives like many in motorsports trying to accommodate the environmental impacts of racing. But yes, to Rossi's point, it really hasn't made a meaningful improvement because whatever boost it's providing is also just extra weight in the car.
Yeah, obviously, I think Rossi literally, like I said, hit on like all of the major issues we've been dealing with IndyCar, which has been this stewards and being the hybrid, and then just weird judgments like not racing in the rain. It's just like inconsistencies across that, and that led to IndyCar on Tuesday on their website announcing, quote, effective immediately, IndyCar officiating will no longer take into consideration pit windows and the running order of cars on track before deploying FCY full course yellow. While there is no change to the local yellow procedures, initiation of the full course yellow will be based primarily on driver status, vehicle position and condition, the location and readiness of safety personnel, recovery access, and the speed differential between affected cars and approaching traffic. So obviously, this has been an issue we've been, I think it was Laguna Seca with Ericsson last year, one of the more pointed or whatever, I don't even know what word you say, just one of the more controversial issues that we've seen continue to pop up, where Ericsson was caught on even a worse spot without a local yellow on a green track and really put himself in danger. And to see that again, where it's like you're just trying to get people in a pit. In this case, it ended up being Palou and Kirkwood, and they would have actually had a chance to pit, but the TV broadcast put on a full course yellow because since he was parked right in front of the flag stand, he was throwing the yellow. So everyone thought that's a full course, right? But it's a full course yellow when he has 2 yellow flags, not 1. So anyway, yeah. So that led to Palou, and they were trying to get Palou and Kirkwood into the pits, but they ended up, on the onboard of Kirkwood literally shows him halfway into the pits, and they tell him to dip, and he has to go through the grass back onto the track, which was crazy. And then you watch some onboards of some people not playing real nice. I know Dixon and that group, like he made a pass like too wide, like going pretty fast by a Rossi, and it was like, wow, like, well, he just got passed by, I think it might have been Ericsson. And it was like, you're not really playing fair when you have these local yellows. And I get maybe like, places like in Le Mans where they're more comfortable with them, but in Indy, when you have such a short race, I think it's just, it's not really working. So I'm glad they've made this move away from it.
I think beyond that too, some other examples, especially on like short ovals, would be like preferential treatment. So like to your points, when a full course yellow hits, the pits get closed. And if you get caught out, like Palou and Kirkwood did, you can very much be affected in your strategy, and you can get pushed to the very back of the field. And there were times where it was perceived as preferential treatment for like a Ganassi or a Penske because the yellows almost seemed too convenient. I think one of the challenges now that has made it even more difficult for officiating was the hybrid, because really back then, if a car stalled, the car stalled. But nowadays, with the hybrid's ability to kind of restart it, there is a kind of extra buffer of like, wait, maybe they can fix it. More so on a street course where you might just spin off or get in the runoff track and then you just reset and you're good. Mm-hmm. So I think it was fair to have a brief hesitation from the team to like, okay, maybe the hybrid can reset it. But once that hesitation is done and they've given a shot at it, it really is down to safety. And of course, as the rule mentions, like differential and speed is probably the fastest part of the track.
100%, yeah.
So that is... And no physics major here, but 0 miles per hour and 170 miles per hour. That's a speed differential. That's a speed differential and would cause a pretty gnarly impact. So I think this is good for the sport as a whole. Strategy shouldn't be a factor in safety, and IndyCars always prided themselves on that. So curious to see. I mean, this is, I guess, maybe less so on an oval because of there's only 4 turns, but regardless, I think it'll be interesting to see how this gets taken into effect going forward.
Yeah, but what's great about this is Palou is out of the race in a way. Still was able to stomp all the way up to 5th, and really, it was kind of similar. I was watching, there was no IndyCar last week, so I dipped into the F1 race and watched a little Verstappen, and he spun out kind of like Ward did on the first turn, and to no fault to anyone else's, it was definitely his fault, but and he took a pit stop pretty early and really thundered through the field like Palou, and it was kind of interesting to see them both, do that on both obviously FIA grade 1 tracks, and see just the dominance of both of them in their sports compared to the midfield. And yeah, it was really impressive, but at the same time, it was like Palou, it wasn't his fault to even get in that position. Well, Verstappen obviously screwed up. But anyway, the rest of the race then was pretty interesting. So you head into lap 27, and Stingray locks up on the second to last turn and bumps into a Ward and spins out. And then this leads to Rosenqvist seeing the sky. Anytime your cam is facing up, I don't think you're in a good place, right? But yeah, it ended his day after, it was almost like a little karma after the lap 1 incident.
Yeah, I thought it was Ward survived and Simpson was the one that got caught up in the incident.
No, Ward was fine. It was that Rosenqvist and Simpson both got caught up. Yes. But Simpson was able to go on just fine. I'm sure he had small damages. Well, Rosenqvist was his day was over.
It was not. I mean, he basically just drove over Stingray Rob and just kind of went vertical. It's not like the cars aren't built with very heavy suspension, so you're gonna hit that impact pretty hard. But yeah, I mean, the overall really tough day for Rosenqvist. I mean, he's had qualifying most of the year. Him and Ericsson just had either the worst luck or the worst moves in terms of hitting race results.
Yeah, and then Rossi as well. I think between Stingray spinning out and Rossi having a mechanical failure, this is about as IndyCar of a race as we can get, right?
Yeah, it really got messy. So moving on, one of the next kind of pieces. So while all this was going on, Power pretty early on decided to do more of a fuel save strategy. I don't know if he ended up doing a full 2-stopper, but similar idea where he really just kind of hung out in the back and really tried to draw out the tires and fuel. This put him in a really decent spot. I mean, even leading the race kind of 3/4 through and through some of the pit cycles. But unfortunately, in that last pit, he exited the lane too early. So yeah, it goes out and then kind of curves into that first turn. And he kind of skirted out of it, realizing it skirted back in. But at that point, it was too far outside the lines and required a drive-through penalty. So really odd. Again, Will Power's had a lot of unforced errors this season, and to a track he's probably run hundreds of thousands.
I mean, he's won here, I think, twice.
So it's unusual to see that he wouldn't know that, and maybe he was just eager to get back.
I think he just locked up the brakes. That's from what I saw. Which is kind of, you think a professional race car driver of that caliber wouldn't lock up the brakes coming out of the pits going 60 miles per hour, but for whatever reason, unfortunately, he was going to win the race, it looked like, with that. And it was very similar to what we said with Dixon. He pitted on lap 2, got off the blacks, and then just ran 3 red stints. Met the qualifications to get off the tire, and really made the most of those tires. And his last pit was on 57, so it was more of an undercut than the rest of the field, who the top guys came in between 61 and 64. And yeah, really unfortunate. Between the wrecks and you think about Phoenix, where he obviously, you can put the blame on either one of them. I think it was kind of a neutral blame. Gets knocked out of that race, all of the qualifying and practice wrecks, and I think this is the second time he's been in race winning contention and had something, at least maybe third.
At least third. Again, a lot of these are just wrecks. It's not even he got bumped into or weather conditions. It's just simply his focus is off. So you can hope to see him kind of turn it around. He has a car.
He's producing good pieces of a race, but he hasn't been able to put everything together. And for someone 6 races into his career with Andretti, I think he's in a really good place. And that's what's so weird, is that the results aren't showing that. I really do think that he'll have a good chance to win a race later this year, especially when we head to more street courses. And I don't know. It's just been kind of a scratch your head year for Will Power. I think if he performed at the best possible at every track right now with the way his car has been, he would be in contention to win the championship. And instead, he's outside the top 10.
I agree. One more thing I want to mention too before we get into the battle for the win is, in addition to Alex Palou Kyle Kirkwood also got caught up in that pit lane fiasco, full course yellow, that sort of thing. So both of them pitted at the same time and kind of had their ability to knife through the field, and they were doing well. I think at one point Kirkwood had circled in front of Palou, and
he got past him during that Stingray incident because Palou had to take a lot more evasive movement than Kirkwood did.
So it got to the point where like Kirkwood and Palou, I mean, from a championship standpoint, were neck and neck, and maybe Kirkwood was able to maintain that lead, but unfortunately, in that last stint, another Andretti pit incident. I can't be able to keep saying this, but it was brutal. It was like a 10+ second front right tire changer, lost the nut. It was tough because I mean you saw Palou had undercut. Kirkwood had a good entry. He had the space, and then you just see Palou again every time. It's so cinematic, but just Palou shooting right past him while he's in pit lane.
Yeah, between him and Lundgaard, I mean, he obviously got bailed with Arlington because his car was just that good. But between them and McLaren, I mean, I think about all the races that O'Ward, Herta, and Kirkwood have lost and thrown away, and now even Lundgaard because of the pit stops, and it's just like excruciating. I mean, obviously, this was the difference between maybe a 5th or 6th place finish and a 9th, so it's not the end of the world, but. I mean, in a points day where Palou wasn't going to be the top guy, to make up any ground on him, even if it's a handful of points, is always a great opportunity. And to not take advantage of that, I think he's kicking himself.
Absolutely. I think in a year two where I think the machinery is getting closer to each other than ever, and Palou having some vulnerability, you gotta capitalize on the pits. I mean, that's the next deciding factor. So really tough to see that happen consistently this season.
Yeah. So heading, Alan. What did you see there on that last pass? He actually made a great pass on Ray Hall earlier in the race too to get by him on that same turn 1-2 kind of passing zone. So, what were you seeing as you're sitting in turn 4?
It was great. I mean, this had happened through the last 2 or 3 pit cycles. Lundgaard and Malukas undercutting, overcutting each other, and then that one-on-one shootout post pit exit. But in this scenario, it really came down to Lundgaard being ballsy. So Lundgaard had undercut in this one and was behind Malukas a decent margin, but Malukas had to fight through Grosjean, who was still in the lead lap, so had the right to defend. But after about a lap and a half of warm tires, Lundgaard basically one of the S chicanes just like cut it in the middle. And in person, it was nutty. I think in TV it was even crazier, but just like I would say a paper's difference between a great move and like ruining their races. So very well done by Lundgaard, very aggressive but clinical. And he got his first run in a little while. I mean, his last one was 2023 in Toronto with, I think it was RLL at the time.
Yeah.
So it had been a little while. And again, when you sign up on a bigger team like McLaren, you want to earn those spots, and especially with better machinery. So I think it was good to get that kind of weight off his shoulders a little bit.
And he had been close so many times. I think it was Portland last year. He was right there and just couldn't get by Palou and Power. Power won that race, right? And I remember him and Palou battling. It was so fun because Palou, he's still trying to win the championship, and he didn't care. He just wanted the position, and it was like the guy was hungry and really wanted to fight and to finally get another chance to win and actually become just the third McLaren driver to win an IndyCar. Wow. Can you name the other two? Let's see.
It's got to be obviously O'Ward.
Yeah. And then this is a good one.
It's a good one.
Not who you think. This is
the 6 car's been kind of cursed for a little while with Teo and all those guys. I would maybe say Hinch.
No, the Hinch. I don't think he technically ever drove with McLaren. Okay, because this is only not Aero. You have to actually go back to the 1970s.
Oh, we're doing like the actual when McLaren ran a car and a McLaren engine. Oh, was it Donahue or something?
No. Johnny Rutherford.
Okay.
He had 2 of his, I believe, 3 wins were in McLaren engine and McLaren chassis efforts. And I know that McLaren won in 72, I believe, with they had some sort of shared equipment, but either way, so he becomes just the third one. I think that was Marshall Pruitt who tweeted out. I'm like, that is good trivia. Yeah. Anyway, like you said, he crossed him up and was able to get by him wide. It was almost like a very similar to an oval when Rasmussen got by Palou, where you're just riding him all the way through the turn and you're able to get around, and just really impressive driving by both of them. And unfortunately, little Dave has to wait just another day. Maybe next week will be his day, but just still doesn't have a race win.
I think one little factor too is interesting was one of the few times recently that I've seen push to pass become a major factor. I think Lundgaard at the time had about double, like 25 versus 50, and push to pass, and like that is critical in terms of like once you make that move, defending and holding it on for the rest of the race. So cool to see that again, like wheel to wheel racing, no rules about who's first in the apex, just really raw. And that's IndyCar.
That's IndyCar,
So it's good to see that on full display.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's going to become more and more of a factor with push to pass because of how much more you're going to use. Because I don't feel like a lot of the drivers, I'm sure if you looked at Palou's push to pass numbers of his 20 wins, whatever, that probably 2/3 of them, he still had a cushion to spend. So now you dive into that cushion a little more. You have to be a lot more strategic. So in some ways, I think that's going to be a plus.
Yeah, it'll make it even more coveted.
But looking at the strategy, I mean, it was definitely a Reds race. Like we said, Power kind of got off the blacks really early and was able to run longer red stints. So they must not have been egging very hard. Outside of that, I mean, like we said, Lundgaard went with a slight undercut on the last stint, and it honestly didn't work. It was just that Grosjean kind of slowed down Lucas, and I think Lundgaard had the better car in the day.
Yeah. We just capitalized. So, it's one of those, like, you can be stuck in the parade lap, but he just decided to make that move to cut the turn.
Yeah, I mean, that's, unless you see anything else, that seems to be,
No, I mean, Reds have been a popular set this year. I think they're a bit more durable than history's past, so they're fast and have that ability.
History's past.
And I think, too, it's kind of hard. Like, when you have that many incidents, tires become kind of...
Yeah, they probably, that's another thing, is they probably weren't running them as hard because of all the caution lap. Yeah, so that's unfortunately the ratings were not good. 650,000 average. Like, I think you need to look to a couple factors. One, you're obviously advertising for the Indy 500, not for the Indy GP for the last couple weeks. Two, you have a week off between races, or 2 weeks off. And three, it was on a Saturday. And we're used to racing on Sunday. So I think those are probably the most obvious reasons for it.
Yeah. I think Barry texted me, so there was like a blackout, but I don't know if that was legitimate or not.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Beyond that, I think, because I don't think the NBA playoffs start later that day, so that wouldn't have been a direct conflict.
I'm sure there's always something on TV, but either way, just
I think
slightly
the irony is that a lot of times this happens, I think last year too, it's like some of these, again, the GP has been historically not a great race. And when it becomes great, it's like people are preparing for that.
I know. I remember Toronto. Yeah. That was one of our favorite races when Lundgaard won his last race, and that was on Peacock. There's like 20,000 people watched it.
Yeah, I think sometimes too, it's like these races historically. So like people may have judged it as that. So it's a reminder that IndyCar can be entertaining on any of these tracks, despite historical norms.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm just glad, like, this is a bad weekend, and that we get every race on Fox. Like, that this is the thing we're complaining about versus being on a paywall, right? And that's where now the F1's behind a paywall and NASCAR is on a different network every dang weekend, and even the NBA playoffs. I'm trying to find it. It's on Peacock, it's on Prime, it's on ESPN, it's on NBC. I'm like, you have to do this wild goose chase to watch TV now, to watch live sports. Even just turning on the PGA Championship this morning, I had to log in ESPN Plus, and then it wouldn't let me log in with the right account because it was trying to get me to the ultimate account, which is not what I have. And I had to then go into that, if anyone's not as tech savvy as us, I don't know how the heck they're going to figure it all out. So just having the consistency, which is why I think it needs to be on Sunday in a lot of ways, but I understand with the Indy 500 practice and everything, there's a turnover. But this is, to me, it's like, it's not fun, but it's not something to be worried about.
Yeah. I think, speaking of TVs and ratings and the 500, there is good news. As of yesterday, the IMS sold all the grandstands, which means an official lift of the blackouts, which is great because Indianapolis is probably the largest market for the 500.
Yeah, obviously. So and that's why we got such a big number last year.
Yeah, that's a good sign for the ratings and a good sign for the track. We've had multiple sellouts now the past couple of years. So it's good to see kind of post-COVID, post-reunification, like IMS being healthy and full again.
Yeah, like the Indy 500 itself is an in-person event as big as any, or bigger than anything. Mm-hmm. I don't listen to anyone who tells you the draft had more people, because I was there, and here's the thing. They had a big courtyard with a lot of people in it, probably around 150 at most, and then they had a bunch of people in the stadium, and they never scanned our tickets. So I don't know how they knew the exact number, because we walked in and out a couple times. So I think me and Mitchell might have gotten double counted. So don't let anyone tell you that this usurps. And at the end of the day, the draft is not a sporting event. I don't know. Anyway, I like, that was not bigger. I can't believe that was the biggest event, because I thought like when they had it in Kansas City and in Nashville that like the way the courtyard was set up, I thought like it was down an avenue. So I thought there was gonna be way more people. But yeah, that's just an aside. But yeah, really cool. Second time in a row, and second time since 2016 that we've had a full grandstand sellout, and making for another great race, 110th running. But before we get to that, I want to give some shout outs to the biggest movers, or like we talked about, Louis Foster having a great day, starting in 6th, finishing in 7th.
Dennis Hauger.
He's
looking good. I would not be shocked if things get dodgy with Ericsson and other ones. Like, he might be getting a good seat next year. He's in the top like 12 points. I mean, they're not the top 15.
I think he's probably like 15.
He's dominating the Rookie of the Year performance. So
yeah, he started in 24th, and finished in 8th.
Yeah, I've been really impressed to see how he's raced so far, both in traffic and one can consider an inferior car. So excited to see how his career progresses.
Nolan Siegel, another top 10, building some results.
I think it's his first top 10 of the year.
I think he had one last race, didn't he? He had a good result. Well, it might have been 12.
It's been a rough year for him, but
he's coming around. Yeah,
getting something on the board. Now, I think, admittedly, part of that was because of Mick Schumacher doing a bit of a bump and run on Santino like 2 laps ago. But yes, nonetheless, a top 10 is important progress.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. Yeah, Mick, he said he brake checked him, and Santino actually in the interview after the race said that he had some downforce issues. So I'm sure that Mick must have just not have known that and made the pass at the wrong point around turn 5 or something. Could you see it? It was like right.
It was well past home and bowl.
Okay,
like the backside of the track.
Maybe it was on the other side. Yeah, but either way, kind of ruined both of their days. But yeah, and then obviously Dixon, great recovery run, and then Ray Hall with the podium. So outside of that, McLaughlin's been really quiet.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I don't know. And then Ericsson had some sort of mechanical failure. I never know what they never talked about that
much.
Yeah, but that is the Indy GP. I think I would give that an A rating. I thought that was one of the best races of the year, right probably next to Phoenix, outside of Newgarden winning that one. But anyway, so now all things are aside, and we can focus on the task at hand. The Indianapolis 500 110th running. Just really excited. I'm a little worried that the hybrid isn't going to create as good of racing. Last year, obviously, we noticed that the passing, getting stuck behind those lappers was really frustrating. So I have high hopes. The cars are running really fast right now, and we're going to give you a little bit of preview of Quals with the new format, and actually have a surprise for Alan in hand here at the end. So this year, just a little bit of a look at the field. Of course, the 25 full-time cars we're used to seeing every week. We have a couple rookies, Hauger, Schumacher, Collette. Is that it? Yes. And technically Abel will be a rookie since he didn't qualify last year. So we have 4 rookies, 3 full-timers. And then on top of that, we have 7 other one-off drivers. So, of course, Ed Carpenter in the number 33, Ed Carpenter Racing. He's a 3-time pole sitter on his 22nd start, Indianapolis native. Everyone knows Ed, and obviously we haven't had an Indy 500 winner from Indianapolis or from Indiana in a very long time. That's actually one of my trivia questions, so you have to think about that. Next up, we got Elio in the number 06 MSR car, 4-time winner, of course, drive for 5, and I believe he just turned 51, and this is his 25th start.
Yeah, he's getting there. Next up is Connor Daly, IndyCar veteran, but has been kind of bounced around different teams.
Journeyman, for sure.
Journeyman. I think it's what every team is for Penske now.
Pretty much, yeah. But maybe not going to ask you.
23 Dreyer Reinbold Racing. So he's had 512 starts and 5 top 10. So he does perform quite well at this track. Next up, you may recognize him from the broadcast. Pit lane reporter Jack Harvey is switching his position from in the pit lane to on the car, driving the number 24, Brian Reinbold. At the 500, he's had 8 starts and 1 top 10 in his career.
Yeah, I also was listening to IndyCar radio yesterday, and Davey Hamilton will actually be on strategy for him. So the double radio / TV broadcaster crew is taking over. And yeah, I mean, the Brian Reinbold cars have showed a lot of pace, and Daly said this is the happiest he's been with a car maybe ever. So really exciting for them.
Last 2, we got Ryan Hunter-Reay taking the number 31 McLaren. So this is the McLaren's 4th entry, was formerly done by Larson and Kanaan. Now it's Hunter-Reay. He was the 2014 winner and has had 17 career starts. I think one fun fact as well, this entry is also being kind of funded and supported by Jimmy Johnson's crew over on the NASCAR season. His kind of one-off entries for stock car. So it will be a stock car pit crew supporting Ryan Hunter-Reay.
A blended one, yeah. So interesting there. Obviously, Hunter-Reay had a good chance to win the race last year with Ryan Reinbold. Had some sort of, was it a mechanical or a pit? It was something like that went wrong.
Exactly, but yeah, something like that.
And former winner has shown prowess here. Obviously took a few years off there in the early 2020s and is now back and with a very strong team. And then we have 2 left. So first off, Takuma Sato, 75 RLL car, won with the same car in 2020 as well in 2017 with, was that Andretti?
Was it Andretti? Yeah, he wasn't Ganassi ever, was he? Because that was Kanaan.
No, he had raced. He raced with Ganassi part time. Remember with Armstrong? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was. But he never won with them.
Yeah, always an exciting entry. So Takuma Sato,
16 starts. I think he's 48. I mean, he's old as well, but he does not care. That car is either gonna be in the victory lane or it's gonna be in the wall. So it's he's fun to watch. He's really fun to watch.
He's electric. And then last entry and probably the most news coverage is Catherine Legge driving number 11 HMD Motorsports AJ Foyt entry. So she's had 4 career starts. Most recently was the 2023-24 season. Supported again by Elf as her primary livery.
Yeah, so the big deal here is that it was announced from Marshall, or whatever, Bob Pockris, that, quote, Catherine Legge will attempt the double with HMD Motorsports and AJ Foyt Racing in the 500 and Live Fast Motorsports in the 600. Legge's quoted saying, "This challenge is about pushing through perceived limits, taking risks, and trying to do something unique," end quote. So we have some interesting thoughts about this. So first off, I did some research on Live Fast. So she will be driving the 78 car. She had just raced with them at Watkins Glen, where she finished a lap down in 35th. And she raced for them with 7 starts last year, with the best coming actually at the Brickyard with 17th place finish. She had some moments on some road and street the last couple years, I know, in NASCAR. But at the same time, I look at this entry as a very advantageous for someone who is really behind on their IndyCar program, regardless of gender. Just looking at it purely from the fact that you've worked so hard just to get into the Indy 500, and you're in, I would say, the best equipment she's been in ever. And this is her 3rd start since the new chassis, or I guess 2012 was whatever. For 3rd start since 2020. With the aero screen, and both of those other ones were with, I believe, Honda engines and barely made the field. And now you're looking, and she's in a Chevy AJ Foyt, which, if you look at how Ferrucci has raced, has been some of the best cars on the track for the last couple of years.
Even some one-off entries like Benjamin Peterson, that one single year career, he finished qualified in the top 12. I mean, I think this is as RLL as they are in the GP. I think Foyt's their equivalent in the 500.
Yeah, so really, kind of, I don't know. To me, it's like she's not going to have to qualify at the Coca-Cola 600, but she's never raced there. So I don't know what the process is with her going to be getting on track there. I would imagine that she'd have to show up at least once to practice before just hopping in the stock car and going. But interesting effort after, seeing how much investment Larson and then, in the past, Tony Stewart, Robbie Gordon have put into this to kind of throw it together last minute. And I don't know. It's like the Live Fast team is not going to be on pace. And that to me makes this whole thing kind of seem a bit confusing when you do have a really good opportunity to get a result here in Indy. And yeah, I don't know. I would imagine the sentiment in the paddock is a little bit of confusion and a little bit of a lack of respect for Indy in the way that, it is so hard to get a one-off here and to treat it a little bit more lightly. I'm not really I don't know. That doesn't give the respect to the Motor Speedway that I feel like guys that come from NASCAR with Larson, with Stewart have given it.
I think it's out of the two. I think to me it's a distraction. So it takes. There's a reason that Indy is the only one that has 6-7 practice rounds.
Yeah. Because
there is so much of that track that is unique and so much about feel and getting into track, getting used to cars and tow and no tow and all of that, and then to already be, to your point, a leg down.
good one.
Try to be down and behind because you missed the refresher in April. To continue that while having to kind of split your focus between two very different cars. You can look. I saw YouTube a couple of days ago, but Jeff Gordon when tried an F1 car one time or a stock car, and the difference between the two, for one, is that downforce increases with speed on an Indy car. It's the opposite for NASCAR. So I think it's there's so many differences between the two cars. Your mentality is different. Not even including all the logistics of getting to the two. And I just don't think it was necessary. I think she's raced in NASCAR, straight to the Indy car. But if your primary focus was to compete in the 500, this is only going to hurt your efforts.
And, despite her quote saying this is not about just checking a box, but it is about competing. To me, that feels disingenuous when you look at the quality of car she'll probably be running come the time she makes it to the Coca-Cola 600. So yeah, just I don't know. It's going to be interesting development to follow throughout the month, but I obviously want her to do well here in Indy, and I think she's got a lot of resources too. But if you looked at her practice time yesterday, she was over a mile slower than the second slowest car. And after, like you said, she had some mechanical issues, so she wasn't able to complete her refresher until day 2 of the open test in April. So she lost 4 hours on track because of that. And then on top of that, issues already arising. Obviously, she's way behind in the program here. So we'll see how that develops. She obviously has a lot of time to get her Indy car up to speed. But yeah. So moving on with some other news points. So they actually changed the qualifying format. So last year and the last couple of years, obviously with bumping, we had a scenario where Sunday would come around and you'd have the top 12 cars run in the Fast 12, and then you would have bump day, and then you would have the Fast 6. This year, without bump day, they're going to have the first day of qualifying set cars 16 through 33, while 15 through 10 come back for kind of a last chance qualifying to get into the Fast 12, and then they'll do the Fast 12, and then they'll do the Fast 6. So kind of a long, convoluted way. I mean, I get it, more TV and everything, but to me, it's like, how is the 15th car going to qualify on pole? You know what I mean? Like, if the speed's in the car or it's not, there's only so much driver skill that goes into qualifying.
Yeah, and you'll see like minor tweaks here and there. I think it's good they're incentivizing a little bit of like the 1 through 9. So like if you do have a good say Saturday, you can have an advantage coming into Sunday because you don't have to qualify 3 times potentially. But beyond that, it does feel a bit gimmicky. I think part of the problem too is that like with now 3 attempts versus 2 attempts to get to pole, it does kind of water it down a little bit of like, how does attempt matter? Especially too, because you can, within that time window, theoretically have multiple attempts within that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, look forward to that, I guess. But I'll be out on track Friday and Sunday, so I'll give you some good in-person coverage there when we come back. And then I was actually out there yesterday playing some golf at the Brickyard Crossing, and not my best round. I think anyone would tell you that was there, but it was still really cool to see the cars on track while it's kind of hard to concentrate, I will say, but beautiful course, but the rough is not your friend. I lost way too many balls that I knew where they landed and I just couldn't find them. So really, really cool experience. I recommend it for anyone that wants to fork out $250 and come out on a practice day.
Yeah, just make sure you tell your boss you're off at work because they will, during the broadcast, show you on the course. And I remember last year.
Thank God they didn't show me on, was that 10? Oh, or
Yeah.
8. I think it was 8.
I think 7 or 8 was when the actual course set, but my cousin had a video pretty funny like last year of like someone who was on the broadcast and just whiffed the ball. So it's there when you are in the spotlight there on the cars, nothing is sacred. So just keep that in mind when you book that tee time.
Yeah, I was thinking about the equivalent as a pro to what an amateur round at the Brickyard Crossing during the 500 is. And the only thing I can come up with what is the Waste Management Open, where you have just all of this noise going on, and it's like I don't even know how those guys play under any pressure, let alone with all that noise. And I'm like, I would love to see some. I mean, I don't think the pros would have any trouble playing there, but just it definitely does get in your head a little bit. But it was a cool experience. So anyway, just topping into practice highlights.
I mean, it's still early. We're now day 2.
We're in day 3 right now as we speak. So I can look at the results. But
no surprises so far. But Pelot being first and second in the first 2 day practices. Now, I think for context, you got a lot of guys. Like if you're Elio or any really of the one-off guys, you're just kind of spending the first 2 days to get back in the saddle a little bit, get the car tuned up, get the pieces where cars that have been running all season are a bit more comfortable pushing the limits. I think too, like they're not in the right trim just yet to get like full race trim or qual trim. They're more of like kind of testing things out. Like, okay, what if scenario A or B happens, or what if we do these kind of tweaks? So it's more experimental. So I wouldn't take a whole lot of merit, but there's no surprise the Ganassi team is confident and ready to perform.
Yeah, and on top of that, they only have one engine for the Indy 500 provided for the one-off guys. So I was looking, and they have to be careful with how many miles they put on those, because a lot of guys, they practice these first few days with their old engine and they'll move on to their Indy 500 engine. I know Scott McLaughlin did today, which is a little earlier than he wanted to, or yesterday. And so there's kind of that process, but with only having the one-offs with Honda and Chevy, they've kind of been more stringent on it. So guys like Elio kind of have to rely more and more on their teammates, which I saw some people complaining about because it makes it feel more like we're getting back to the IRL 25-8 scenario where you're kind of auto qualifying people. I mean, so
I wouldn't go that far.
I'm just saying there's different classes of racing almost. It's like the one-offs are treated slightly differently is what I'm getting at. Not saying that they're not allowed to qualify with the rest, but
and I think it's
with the charters and everything, there's definitely more of that sentiment flying around. Outside of that, Daly, I mentioned, looking really strong. And he ran some of the fastest pre-Fast Friday speeds we've seen in a long time, 228 yesterday. And as well as being one of like the first guy to qualify or to have the fastest speed on a given day outside of Penske or Ganassi since like 2021 or 2. Ray Hall was top 10 for the first time in a while. That was impressive. And then outside of that, there's a little bit of a worry with some of the other RLL cars with some speed. I know Foster started to speed up. Sato wasn't super happy with his car. And then I would say that Schumacher has not looked very strong. Yeah, today, a few guys still haven't run yet, but yeah, Legge is still way behind. She's still in last. Schumacher's down there in 27th. Ed Carpenter has actually had some problems with getting some speed. So still, obviously, without bumping, not as big as some worries, but there's definitely a lot more of a mix of the Chevys down at the bottom than I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, I think it's this year, at least from practice times, it's seen the most parity between teams and drivers, which is exciting to see. I think usually you see the kind of clear favorites, but I think I've seen a lot, like, and honestly, on par with the rest of the season, where you're seeing a lot of new faces in the Fast 12 and Fast 6. So I'm hoping that translates again into race day quals to have a healthy mixture of dominant teams like a Penske and Ganassi versus like some smaller squads.
Yeah, so Pelot finished 1 and 2 in the first 2 days of practice. So very, I would still lean Newgarden as the favorite just because he's so talented on these tracks and has really figured out Indy, where I think, Pelot is good here, but at the end of the day, he only has one other win on an oval, if that, outside of Indy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he even have another? I thought
he might not.
Yeah, I think obviously Award, you can't not talk about him on this track and just the devastation that has occurred. So certainly in the discussion for that. But once we actually have qual numbers, we'll talk of that more than like.
Yeah, right now my unofficial power rankings, I've got Newgarden 1, Pelot 2, Award 3, Ferrucci 4, Dixon 5, Sato 6, Rasmussen 7, McLaughlin 8, Malukas 9, Ericsson 10.
I think there's some mechanical boogeyman and
Might move Daly up there soon.
Yeah. But these are all way too early predictions for race performance.
So with that, I'm going to throw a few trivia questions at Alan, and then we'll let you go. So first one, who was the last Indiana native to win the Indy 500, and what year was it?
We haven't had any Americans win the 500, let alone Indiana.
Oh, no, this goes way further back, man.
Yeah.
This was before, I think there might have been one non-American that won before him.
So you're saying like that? All right, front or rear engine car? 70s.
I think it's
70s
front.
when they split it. Okay,
I think
so that's pre-70s then.
Yeah.
Okay. Did they happen to have a second guy on the car?
I think that was
called the
I think that
mechanic.
might have been right after the mechanic ride along.
Okay. So is it World War II? What was that?
It was before World War, like this is right before they stopped, I think, during World War II.
I'm just gonna start going to names here.
That should narrow it down. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you've got this in your bag.
I'm trying to think of the guy. No, he was pre-World War II. No, Eddie Sack.
This is pre World War II, post
I
World
think I
War
did like
I.
70s and beyond. I can feel somewhat confident before pre-World War II. We're getting into all I know about is Ray Haroon, so definitely not that.
I've got a good question with him too. Okay, it's Wilbur Shaw, 1940 and 39.
That's a fair. He's a notable driver.
All right, what number was Ray Haroon's winning Marmon Wasp car?
Was it 31?
No,
Really?
you're close.
Not 11. 32.
32.
Okay.
Going along with the
I
numbers.
was thinking Reggie Miller. I guess it's 31.
Yeah, right.
Famous Indiana number.
Going along with numbers, which number has captured the most victories out of any of them?
Is that a cliche? I say number 1.
No.
Okay. I think I bet it's gonna be something random like 4 or 7.
Nope.
Okay. No, I know Rossi won in 98, but that's
That's only the 98.
that I can. How about 10?
No. Think about a 4-time winner. I think 2 4-time winners actually wore this number.
Because Elio's, you drove 3.
3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because
11 wins.
Sub was that too.
Yeah.
So, and then
I believe Mears was in it then, right? Because wasn't he?
I know
have
he
to
drove
look.
the Penzo. I don't know if he ever drove the number 3 with it. But.
Yeah. Anyway, and then last numbers question: what is the lowest number of a car to not win the Indy 500? So say like 1, 2, 3 have all won the Indy 500s. What's the lowest?
Let's go 13.
13. There we go.
Like number anyways.
I was reading up on it. 13 was actually banned from the track for a couple of years in the early 1900s.
There's so many little things like that. Like,
Yeah.
like green is an unlucky color.
And then Jim Clark and Graham Hill kind of came in.
Came in with the
Right.
traditional.
Well, I think one of them wasn't in the green, but either way.
Mhm.
All right, I'll give you 2 more. Can you name both of the drivers in the field whose relatives have started in the Indy 500?
I know Dill's got a lot of connections, but I don't think it's
Yeah, no, his dad, Derek.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's Derek Daly. Okay. No, that's Connor. Thank you. Sorry, I was thinking him and Bulls, but different connection there. So there's that. The Andretti's gone, so that was that one. So is Colton Herta. So those 2 are like the most notable. Obviously, it's Graham Rahal.
Yeah, Rahal. There it is.
So really, Rahal Daly.
All right, I got 2 more then. Which country has never produced an Indy 500 winner? A, Canada. B, Germany. C, Sweden. D, Colombia.
Well, I'm going to say it should be Canada because Elio didn't win that race and it should have been Paul Tracy. What were the options again?
Canada, Germany, Sweden, and Colombia.
Well, Ericsson's Swedes. Colombia is Montoya. I'm going to have to say Canada.
No, Canada. It was Jacques Villeneuve.
Oh, Jacques.
Yeah. It's Germany.
Germany.
Isn't that crazy?
It is pretty crazy.
I think this is the first time in a long time we've had a German start with Mick. But yeah, that's a good one.
That one.
Yeah, and also Kenny Brack in '99 won, and he's from Sweden.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the other Canadian then? Was it?
I think it's just Jacques.
Oh, just Jacques. Yeah.
I don't know if there was another one.
French Canadian.
Okay, last one. Let's go. Can you name 3 of the 5 F1 world champs to win the Indy 500?
3 of the 5. Mario.
Maybe all 5. We'll see.
Mario, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
Fittipaldi.
All right, you got to get the last 2.
Did Montoya win the championship?
No.
Okay,
I've said these guys' names during the last 3 minutes, so
that's fair. I already said Jim.
Jim, Mario Andretti, Emerson Fittipaldi.
What's this? It was like the 90s. He came over from Formula One. It's not Newman.
It's not Nigel.
No, Nigel.
No, I don't know if he ever even ran the 500 because of the split.
Because I remember him being on the market.
Him and Greg Moore were 2 of the guys who were so
Sato
good.
never won that much. Rossi never won that much.
It's Jacques Villeneuve, bro. I just said it. And then the other one,
Doesn't Jacques have a relative that also did other stuff?
I don't know. And then the other one is Graham Hill. So I gotta just gave everything to you. But anyway,
we're talking about him enough over things. But
all right, those. Do you want one more? Or are you good?
What time are we at?
We gotta end on a high note, I guess.
I got 3 of the 5. That was
no, you did get the 3.
I got 3. I couldn't get 5.
You didn't get
that was the question.
All right, who is the oldest living Indy 500 winner?
Ooh. Foyt's pretty old.
AJ Foyt. Okay, there it is. All right. So we will be back next week, midweek, with some more in-person content. Hopefully we get some good. You're gonna be there Sunday with me at Quals. So we'll give you a good preview, give our predictions for the winner, and all of our bold takes. So with that, I'm Jake Langdon.
Not now, Langdon.
And we'll catch you soon, race fans.